Oh, wait, resume, stop recording. Hello, everyone. While we get ourselves set up here, it's working, right?
Should be, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then we'll get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today is Thursday, December 4th. I apologize for that confusion. The note said the 3rd, and yes, but it's actually the 4th, and it's Thursday at noon, which is our typical roundtable time. And we're so happy to have you with us today. Our topic is Marketing Your Main Street, featuring Kristen Adamo, who's with us today. I'll take a moment to thank our sponsors for today's event, which include Rhode Island Commerce and Rhode Island Energy, who is the founding sponsor of our Main Street program here in Rhode Island. And if, for those of you who may not know, Grow Smart Rhode Island launched the Main Street Rhode Island initiative, which is newly officially serving as the coordinating program for Main Street America for the state of Rhode Island. So, if you want more information, always happy to talk about what the philosophy is, but it basically is looking at all aspects of place that make a commercial district successful. It's called the 4 points approach or the Main Street approach. One of our Rhode Island celebrities. Clark Shuttle was actually one of the people who invented this approach back in the late 70s and early 80s. And we are so pleased to be rolling it out here in Rhode Island. So as for today, one of the 4 points is promotion, which of course includes marketing and thinking about your district as a whole, marketing your district, marketing the businesses in the commercial district. We want them to be successful. And so, who better to talk to us about this than Kristen Adamo? So, she is the president and CEO of the Providence Warwick Convention and Visitors Bureau. Which she joined in 2005 as the director of communications and was then appointed to vice president in 2007, where she served as the primary architect for their marketing and communication strategy, including advertising, public relations, collateral production, website management, special programs, and social media. So lots of expertise to share with us today. During that time, she launched successful marketing initiatives like Providence Restaurant Weeks. I saw Providence named America's favorite city in Travel and Leisure magazine, and also won an Outstanding Sports Marketing Award from the National Association of Sports Commissions. She was appointed president and CEO in 2019, which was less than a year before COVID happened. And you may all be familiar with her wonderful and impressive and admirable efforts during COVID and just after to lead us back through from that to for the tourism industry to rebound, especially the focus on the meetings as this driver of tourism and economic development. And loved how you, Kristen, encouraged all of us to become ambassadors to in our different fields to just let people know that Providence is a great place to host a meeting or event, which seems to have been really successful. I'll also say that she is a resident of Warwick, Rhode Island, an alumna of Bayview Academy, Ohio Wesleyan University, and Salve Regina University, and is a huge friend of Main Street. So, GrowSmart has had an initiative called Roadies in Transit, where we bring people on RIPTA to demonstrate its value and its reach. And so we brought Kristen a little while ago, who and had to have a wonderful conversation about not only RIPTA as, a tool for tourists to get around the city and the state, but also the Main Street districts, especially those served by RIPTA, that are really offer those authentic experiences for people coming to our state, and how can we link all of these together? And certainly. Marketing plays a big role of letting people know what's out there to go and visit. So, and not just tourists, of course, but all of us. So, I'm going to go ahead and stop my share, and I am going to turn it over to Kristen. We're so excited. to have you with us today.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for spending your lunch hour with me. If I hear chewing, I will not take it personally. So no. Feel free. I am going to share my PowerPoint with you and start it from the beginning. Okay, here we go. So today we're talking about marketing your small business, and a little bit about us and what we do. As Jillian mentioned, we are responsible for marketing and selling Providence as a leisure destination, Providence and Warwick for meetings and conventions, and then all of Rhode Island as a premier place for sporting events. We are what's called a DMO, a destination marketing organization, otherwise known as a CVB. And we've been named the best CVB in the Northeast in 23 and 25. We did not apply in 24, and I told my staff every year from now on, please. So I thought I'd talk a little bit today about multi-channel marketing. You hear that term and it sounds very fancy, but basically what it is a collection of avenues to get your message out there and your point across. And these are all of them. And I thought I'd focus on the ones that are in bold because we don't want to be here all day. And I think when you're talking about a small business or a collection of small businesses, you want to do things that are really cost effective and really yield. So, social media, PR, community partnerships, and special events, I really feel like the ones are the ones that you don't have to spend a great deal of money to really make an impact. So I thought we would talk a little bit about those today. So, a little bit about social media, which sounds very scary and intimidating sometimes. But the pro of it is it's an inexpensive way for you to be able to build your brand. The con is it's time consuming and it's confusing. And I think the best thing to do is really look at the different social media channels. So, I pulled a few charts for you. And you can see kind of which social media platforms are performing well. YouTube is the big guy, and of course, Facebook. But then when you really start drilling down into it, you can see it depends on what your target age group is. Younger people are really more interested in Instagram. I would say TikTok isn't on here, but that is very, very much on the rise. And then as you get older, you'll see that you have people really embracing Facebook. So the easiest ways to save time and boost your traffic are pick the channels that are best fit for your organization. If you are like a home decor or something like that, you actually may be a great fit for Pinterest. Really kind of think about what your goals are and who you're trying to reach. The best way to kind of do this is to schedule posts ahead of time, and then you can also monitor sentiment. My team recommends Brand Watch. They said it's very inexpensive. And so what we do with that is we're able, on a weekend, we'll have our posts ready to go. We can also look at what people are saying. Anytime you work for a destination, you've got a lot of those naysayers. And so we're able to keep an eye on what people are saying, good and bad. One of the things that's really effective, and particularly when you're looking at Instagram, is to collaborate on a post. You'll see that sometimes if you're on Instagram, you'll see like three different people doing the same post and group together. That's a collaboration, and you through Instagram can invite people to collaborate with you. So some of our small businesses will, shoot us an email and say, "Hey, can we collaborate on a post about our winter market?" And we'll say, sure. And so they're getting the boost of being visible on our channels. In other words, like I don't even know what we have for Instagram now. I think it's like 70,000 people. So that little neighborhood is now getting in front of up to 70,000 people. A really fun thing to do is to invite a well-known community member to do a takeover. So, in other words, put someone in charge of your social media for the day and send them out. It can be a local news personality. It might be someone who everybody knows in the neighborhood. I have been asking my team to do this with a dog because I think walking a dog through a neighborhood would be with a GoPro would be an amazing thing to do. They haven't done it yet, so if you'd like to steal my idea, please do. One of the things that's really important in social media is to be aware of what's going on in the cultural conversation and make sure that you can capitalize on it. And what I mean by that, a great example would be Taylor Swift's wedding. Now we know Taylor Swift is most likely getting married in Rhode Island in June. What is a great thing to do is think about if you're in a neighborhood and you have stores that have linens or whatever, what are great gifts for her wedding? What are, what should her menu look like if she wants to include Rhode Island foods? So it's really fun to kind of get creative. It can be silly things too, like it might be like National Hot Dog Day, and you've got a restaurant in your neighborhood that makes really great hot dogs or whatever, ice cream day. We do a lot of that stuff. And it's really, it's really fun. We've done things with television shows that everybody are talking about. So it's a great way to kind of lift your brand. People talk about influencers and they worry about them. And I understand that. A lot of them are pay to play. But there are some that are extremely professional and they'll tell you, hey, I can do this number of posts for this amount of money. Here's what I'm thinking of doing. And they can be effective as long as you pick people who fit your brand. We do some work. A great one that we work with is Patty J. We have a buy local campaign. She's very tuned into the community. She skews women, which is the spending power. She's slightly older, so she's, women in their 30s, 40s, early 50s. So that's a great fit for us. But there's others that are younger that do different things. Have a personality. Make sure you have faces in them. Beauty shots are great, but they tend to get scrolled over. You want people to really interact with the work that you're doing across the platforms. You want to have a little fun with it. You can have a sense of humor. You can interact with people. You can talk back to them. One big one that people tend to ignore is LinkedIn, and that's some of our most effective marketing is done on LinkedIn. It's business to business, but it's also people in the community scrolling through, and it's something a lot of people do because it has to do with their jobs. So I would definitely say, if you can, try to include LinkedIn on your portfolio of channels. A little bit about PR, which is near and dear to my heart. I'm a PR person from way back, and things that people need to understand is different media outlets work very differently. Magazines like Rhode Island Monthly or Providence Monthly, or even some of the regional and national ones, tend to work at least 3 months or more in advance. So if you're reaching out to them to be in their editions for the holidays, you've missed the boat. Doesn't mean you can't work with them digitally, but right now they're thinking about the spring. Newspapers vary. If you're doing a big story, they need a little bit longer lead time, but you can really within a few days get to newspapers. A little trick that we do in the PR business is you can check online in the advertising sections of websites for print and see sometimes they publish their editorial calendars. One I can think of offhand is Providence Business News. And so that is really for advertisers, like if it's, uh, an issue that focuses on dentists, they want dentists to advertise. But what it does is it also is great for PR people because you can see, like for me, it's like, oh, they're doing a hospitality focus in like February. And so in, January or December, you can email them and say, "Hey, I noticed you're doing a hospitality focus. Here's my idea for a story." And that they really like that because you're helping them do their job more effectively. If you can supply photographs, that's always really helpful. I think people get hung up on them having to be professional photographs. With, iPhones and smartphones, you can take some really beautiful stuff yourself. Calendar listings are helpful. You can just send them, the who, what, where, and a little bit about your event and where to look for more information. Again, they're doing those things ahead of time. If you really want to go after a publication, research the publication and the reporter. Make sure you know what they write about. If their beat That's basically their area of expertise is education, and you're a small business that, sells linens, you're probably not going to, that's not going to be the right reporter. A big one is, did they cover something similar earlier? And I've been guilty of that because it's really hard to keep up. And I'll pitch something, they'll be like, I did that a month ago. So if you can do your little homework. Reporters tend to like, although it's not as much since Elon took over, but they like X. That's how they talk to each other. So if you happen to be on X, that's a great way to really get a little bit of a feel for a reporter. They're also on LinkedIn, and so they do a lot of work on there, and that's a great way also to reach people and start building up a conversation. TV is a little bit different. For local and regional, you want to send what's called a media advisory to the assignment editor. That's the person who basically ferries out the stories. They tend to do that around 9 or 10 in the morning, sometimes even earlier. So it's always good to send the advisory a day or two in advance. One of the things you can do is you can call that day and say, hey, are we on the schedule? I'd love to have you there. But do that sparingly, because if you are someone that calls every time you send out a media advisory, they're not going to take your call. Same thing with busy news days. Like if you send something during the Washington Bridge hearings, chances are no one was going to cover that because they were so focused on that thing that particular day. The other one is, again, those early morning press events are tough because they're still assigning stories. Your sweet spot's probably like 11 to maybe 4. And if they don't come and you have some footage, you can offer it with a press release after the fact. People always ask about the road show and the Studio 10. Some of that is pay to play. In other words, there are advertisers that pay to be on it. But they also will do, especially when you're talking about a whole neighborhood, they also are pretty great about being community partners. The best thing to do is really research who the producer of the show is. You'll be more effective if you do that rather than just going right to the talent on air, because usually the producer is the person who assigns it. And again, like if you have something like now, I would be pitching New Year's. In a few weeks, I'd be pitching Valentine's Day because they're always looking a little bit ahead. And then online's really easy. They can publish within minutes. There's a lot of them out there. Just figure out which ones align most with you, and then be prepared with photos and video. National is really hard to get, but it's not impossible. The magazines work 6 months to a year out. We're working Yankee Magazine, which is one people love, work a year out. So they're probably going to work this Christmas on next Christmas for their print. For their online, it's a little bit different. And do your homework on the person and the publication. Uh, a great thing to do is look at freelancers. You would think when you're talking about national media that you'd want to get someone who writes for the magazine, but that's not necessarily true. You might want to look at a good freelancer because number one, there's a lot of them because magazines tend to now have limited staff, but also they can sell that same story to 3 or 4 different publications by tweaking it a little bit. So that's a really good way to get a lot of bang for your buck. HARO is a little hint I wanted to give you. HARO stands for Help a Reporter Out. It was a listserv back in the day, and then it was bought by a company that ruined it. And then it was taken back by a smaller company. And so it's back on its feet. The website is helpareporter.com, and you can sign up to get their emails. And what it is it's a list of reporters that are looking for sources on specific topics. There's also opportunities to be in gift bags at VIP events. You'd want to do your homework on this kind of stuff, but it's a great opportunity that I don't think a lot of people know about, and it doesn't cost you anything. So we talked a little bit about media advisories, and so this is a sample of one that we do for live coverage of a specific event, and it doesn't have to be a big long thing. When you're talking about getting people to come to your event, the shorter the better. You just want to have basically the date of the event, the time, the place, and who to contact. and then, a headline and two or three lines about what you're trying to do. And then from there, the assignment editor will decide if that's something that they really want to cover. So press releases, again, try to keep it a page. They don't really like it when they're really, really long. Don't send a PDF because reporters sometimes will cut and paste and put exactly what you wrote in their story. I can't tell you how many times I've had that happen to me on really major national publications, which is good because they're saying exactly what you want them to say. Send photos if you can, but not too large an attachment. You might want to link to a Dropbox, or if you have them posted in a place they can access them online. That's important. And have a compelling subject line because they're inundated with people trying to get their attention. So you want to have something that really stands out. And then if you're pitching them, in other words, you're selling them on your story, again, you've got to research the reporter. If you're pitching locally and you have what you think is a good story, don't send it all to the same outlets at the same time. You can do that with a press release, but with a pitch, what happens if you've got this really special story and you're trying to get someone to cover it and you get two people? If you get Gail Ciampa from the Journal and Alexa Gagas from the Boston Globe, while they are very friendly, they are also two different publications, and you've promised them both this special thing. So this is one I learned along the way. If you're trying to do what we call a trend story, um, then have three of them. So if you are thinking like for 2026, avocados are in, you want to have three different restaurants in your neighborhood that are using them. And then that's what becomes a trend when you have three of something. The other thing you can do is tie to a national trend. If there's like a big thing that's happening in your industry, and you can show local examples of it. One that's happening in our industry right now is the rise of the mocktail and people not drinking as much. So one thing that we've done is pitch, here's three great places to get mocktails in Rhode Island, things like that. And just make sure it's newsworthy. If you're doing an event that is inherently newsworthy, but sometimes what you like bounce it off somebody because sometimes you might be so invested in something and you think it's super important, but maybe other people do not. Community partnerships is another one I really like to kind of pitch. Chambers of commerce, if you're involved with your local chamber, destination marketing organizations like mine. I see Blackstone Valley is on this call. They're a great one in the northern part of Rhode Island. We're all over the place. Commerce, your local Rotary, your local municipality. What they can do for you is they can share your online content and amplify your message. We link to promotions in our e-blast. If a neighborhood in Providence or in Warwick sends us their information, we will push it out. Sometimes we'll assist with media outreach. We are a different kind of destination marketing organization. We have partners that pay a fee. So we tend to do media outreach for those partners. However, if say Hope Street is working together to do an event, we will help with media outreach even though not all of those businesses are members. That's fine with us. We're always happy to give advice, and I know a lot of other organizations are too. We do a lot of that. We go out and talk to people about how they can get amplify their voice. They can also help with photos and videos. I know, have a photographer and videographer that's capturing content all the time. So if it's something that we can use, we'll always try to send someone, or if they have something they want us to send out with photos and videos, we'll do that as well. And I know other organizations do that too. Special events, if it's a holiday event, and I don't just mean Christmas, 4th of July, anything, get the word really out really early and look at what other events are going on in your community when you're picking a date. It can be good or bad to have the same date as something else. For example, we launched last year a culinary festival called the Providence Culinary Collective. At the same time, our friends at the Vets are the same weekend, we're doing a comedy festival called Lil Rhodey Laugh Riot. And it ended up being great because people were going to both. And as they grow, we'll probably separate, but it was great to be able to share some marketing resources and work together. If it's not a holiday event, still be early and check the calendar and maybe look at those months that get overlooked, like winter, or what we call the shoulder seasons, which is for Rhode Island, is that um, like November and then March, April, early May. Things tend to be a little bit lighter, particularly outdoor events. And outdoor events in the winter are something that are is getting really trendy and really cool, and we're seeing a lot of that across the country. If it's a stroll or a multi-business event, try to have one website that serves as the landing for all the marketing efforts. And then something that we do is we will work with partners so they have a toolkit that they can distribute to all of the partners in an event like that. So they have copy and photos. So everybody is using the same kind of language, photos, images, social media hashtags and handles, and promoting their own business, but also using partnering for the greater good. A little trick we do all the time when we welcome meeting and convention to town is we'll include a PDF of a sign or poster and we'll blast it out and businesses can just print it out and stick it in their window. And it like we have Aim High Gymnastics coming in. We have 3,000 gymnasts coming in on I think tomorrow. And we send out, these things that people can print out and it says welcome Aim High Gymnasts. And so people feel welcome in it and it's helpful. Immediately after the event, if you can get social media and email data, that's going to help you if you're going to solicit sponsors and grants next time. And then one that's kind of a twofer is partnering with a charity. It's a really great feel good to help another organization in need. And then selfishly, a lot of these organizations have a really large donor base, and then they'll market your event to their donor base. So it's kind of a win-win. That's really what I have prepared, but I see we have some questions in the chat, a lot of them. So I'm going to stop sharing and we can talk about some of the things that you said. Okay. So the first one is I'm curious to learn strategies for sake making social media posting sustainable and fun. I love the local figure takeover. Yeah, I think you know what? If it doesn't always have to be you. If you have someone in your store that's funny, or you have a restaurant that has a dishwasher that's like hysterical, or you have someone who is an intern that just is really good at social media, it doesn't have to be always you. And I think that's important. People love personality and people love to see other faces. Um, and it doesn't have to be like, you don't have to put a ton of thought into it. Sometimes it's just a clever caption. Um, and I think, using hashtags is always helpful because then you're kind of getting to those people that are also liking the things that you want to say. Um, and then, okay, you notice that people will publish our content on their website. Do you know of other outlets that do that? Yeah, all the time. And that's okay. That's what we're here for. It's a really interesting question because one of the things that we're looking at internally is kind of reevaluating how we market and becoming less of like a marketing organization and more of a news bureau because that's the way that people are finding their information is by looking at content. We've looked, and we're not the only ones. Website statistics are dropping, and the reason they're dropping is when you Google now, Chat GPT, or excuse me, AI is answering your question in Google before you even get to the website. So people don't need to look. And then, of course, when you look at the stats for the rise of Chat GPT as a search engine, it is also huge. So for us, it's really important for other people to share our content. So for us, we think it's actually a really kind of great thing. Jess, how do I balance? Good question, Jess. One of the things I do and we do, and it's fairly easy, is to cultivate relationships with all of the media that are prominent in your kind of like beat. So for us, a big one is the food writers and the lifestyle writers. And so what we do is you do have to balance. If you give I just gave Gail Champa a good story that she used. The next time I might go to Jamie Quello. Jamie Quello writes more mixology content, so maybe that's what I go to her about. Alexa Gagas from the Globe, I know, does a lot of international pieces, so it might be a new restaurant that is from a local culture. So, and we do have some informal agreements. Like I work with the Roadshow a lot, so I tend to show them respect by doing a little bit less with Studio 10. So sometimes you do have to pick a team, and that's okay. Um, so that's another one. Uh, yeah, great idea, Jess, is to capture footage. A lot of people do that. They might hire someone to work for a neighborhood to capture photos, video, content that will collectively benefit the group. And the great thing about that is there's lots of people out there that do this as sort of like on the side. And I think that um, is really cool. The city is going to be jumping, Scott. We've got 3,000 gymnasts coming in very shortly. We do about 240 events a year that equal about $100 million in business for the state of Rhode Island. So, and we're about 30 people. So we keep it hopping. And I think people tend to think of chambers and CVBs and all that stuff as having huge staff, but we don't. So we're scrappy too. Other questions that I can take from people?
Yeah, Kristen, you didn't mention the buy local RI. Do you want to talk about that?
I would love to talk about Buy Local RI. So, Buy Local Rhode Island was originally founded by the Rhode Island Foundation and was a great movement to support local businesses. Um, and so, what we do is during the pandemic, I went to Neil Steinberg and I said, I need you to like revive this for small businesses. And he said, I'm not going to do it, but you can do it. And so, over the both with Neil and now David Cicilline, they have charged us with running the Local Rhode Island movement. It's up and running right now. It is a statewide effort. It is the chicken that many of you probably know and love. You are welcome to submit events and promotions to us through the Buy Local website. We are on social media. And we also do it, we don't just do it during the holidays. We try to do it sporadically when it needs help. We've done 4th of July campaigns on independence, in other words, small independent businesses days and things like that. So we are in the thick of it right now with Buy Local and also supporting our neighborhoods and events. Um, Great question on quantifying the economic benefits of the events. That is a really difficult thing to do. For people like us, I can do it because I know who's coming to meetings and conventions. I also have some technology where I can do some digital fencing, but that's not practical for a local event. So the best way to do it is really what I said, which is like look at your web hits, look at your social media reach, and then you can talk to the businesses and have them look at sales for that. You can also try, it's not easy to get the food and beverage tax in that neighbor or in that city for that time. You can try to get sales tax figures. That is a tough slog, but those are ways that you can do it and figure out who is coming. If you're in Providence and Warwick, I can probably help you. But that's about as far as my bandwidth is for some of that stuff because we do have this is so creepy, you guys. We have digital technology and we can draw a digital fence around a geographic area and look at that day and time, and we can tell you through cell phone or sampling of cell phone data what zip codes they're coming from, which is so we just did it. I know we just did it to help Benefit Street is trying to get its sidewalks repaired. And so we drew a digital fence around Benefit Street for a year, and we could tell them that it is a tourist destination because a person from every single state in the United States except North Dakota had visited, and we could tell them where people were going after they left Benefit Street, and we could tell them what zip codes in Providence were coming, and it's not just the people who live there. So those are the kinds of things that we can do for some neighborhoods. Yeah, get with it, North Dakota.
All
Other
right.
questions?
Yeah, any other anyone else have a question? Want to raise your hand? Oh, there's another one in the chat.
Yeah.
Yep.
Not all of them charge a fee. Social media influencers, they're pretty upfront about that. Um, some of them who are trying to grow their base will do it for free. If you are a restaurant or you should plan on comping their meal for sure. But you know, you can work with them and they're pretty, especially the more experienced ones will sit down with you and you can tell them your needs and what your budget is, and they can tell you, here's what I'm going to do for you. But some of the newer ones that are up and coming will also do it for free. Thanks, Steve. It's good to see you on here, my friend from Blackstone Valley. Other questions?
Jessica has her hand up.
Ah, my old friend.
Thank you. I didn't know how to type this. I'm curious, Kristen, how you think about, there's the media has consolidated and reduced, and so we used to have local coverage of neighborhoods and communities, and that has really lessened. And we still have some local papers. So as you're talking to a group of people who are in some ways hyper local, what advice do you have about how we think about statewide outlets versus local outlets? Any
Sure.
insights on that?
So first of all, I agree with you. It's kind of broken my heart. I'm a journalism school graduate, so the decline in local news coverage across the country is really sad. It's also nationally, you know, I've been doing this a very long time, and the amount of travel writers that we've worked with has dwindled. But I do think where a lot of the really good work is being done is those local papers like the Valley Breeze and the Warwick Beacon, all of those, and they're all desperate for coverage. And so they are oftentimes great partners in terms of working with them. And the great thing about a you know, a place like that, like if you're a Warwick person, everybody knows John Howell, who has been running the Warwick Beacon, I think, as long as I've been alive. And you're able to foster those really good relationships. I mean, I think of the Valley Breeze and Ethan Shorey, and there's all these great reporters that really have been in their communities a long time and care about them. And so they're your best bet. And people read them. I mean, everybody reads them either mostly in print, but also online. So they're actually probably one of your more valuable resources.
All right. Any other questions? Any other question? Anyone else want to raise your hand and
Well, if you think of
tell
them,
your story?
I'm happy to share my email. It's kadamo, Adamo at goprovidence.com.
That's great. Oh, Scott's
That
got a
has a question.
question.
Yeah, fantastic presentation. How many people on your staff are focused on the kind of activities you've described?
That's a great, you know what, that's a great question because I mentioned we have 30 people, but
Right.
only about six of them are in marketing. We're a very heavy, sales heavy organization, which is a people driven business. So about a large chunk of them are out all over the country bringing business back. So yeah, there's probably about six.
And
And
what
we are, organizations like mine do things in different ways. We run our own advertising and marketing shop in-house. So in other words, everybody works for the CVB. Other organizations, Commerce is a great example. They have a few people that work in-house, but they work with a lot of larger firms that do a lot of the work. The only thing we don't do in-house is the national media, but we do have a point person on staff. So the way it goes is the national media is pitching Providence nationally, and then when they get a lead, the person on my team, Alana O'Hare, is the person that kind of like fills the leads, and she also has her own relationship. So yeah, it's about six people that do all of this kind of work, and
so
we
what
had more than 300 million impressions last year.
Well, so what advice beyond what you've already given would you have for a lot of the folks on this call who have no staff, basically? And I know you've talked about resources. Is there any elaboration on how a totally volunteer effort should sort of prioritize what it's going to do to promote its district? Because
It's so
there's
hard, right? Because you work together in small business districts, so you're all running your own businesses, and but you also want to do all this stuff together. And I think the best is to don't bite off more than you can chew. You're not going to be able to do programming every week or even every month. Maybe pick like 2 times a year that you really want to push doing an event and calendar it out. We even do that. We calendar out our year. And then if you can divvy up the responsibilities, that's really helpful. And there's some people that do it really well. Bristol does an incredible job of marketing. And what they've done there is they were able to negotiate, I believe, a little bit of money from their city. And then also we're able to chip in together. And so they have this collective called Explore Bristol and have actually been able, like, they have someone who does their social media that they've hired. Um, so that's probably, and you might want to look at your municipality to see if there's funding available through a grant program. Things like that is the best way to do it because we have, we work with probably in Providence alone 16 or 17 neighborhood associations, and some of them are like a well-oiled machine, and some of them try really hard. Like one that struggles a lot, you'd be shocked, is downtown Providence. But it's really hard, to get those businesses to coalesce when there's so much activity around them.
Are you comfortable talking about a few in the city that are really sort of state of the art, at least relatively speaking, in neighborhood
Bristol is
associations?
great.
Yeah.
Hope Street in Providence is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Federal Hill does a pretty good job.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, those are some good
Okay,
ones.
great.
Yeah, that I
Thank you.
work with anyway.
Thank you. My colleague I see has a question, maybe others.
Yep.
Thanks.
I was just curious if you could, there's so much you've covered here. If you could point us to any additional resources to where you could do more online learning about marketing communications or what are those resources to
So
go a
there's
little
some
bit deeper?
websites that you can look at that are media databases. I don't know if they're all pay to play, but there's stuff like Muck Rack where you can look up journalists, um, things like that can make things a little bit easier. Um, Online learning, you can try the American Marketing Association Rhode Island chapter, see if they have anything going on. There's the Public Relations Society of America has a Southeastern New England chapter. They may have some programming that's going on, or that's a great way to work through your chamber, right? If you go to your chamber and are like, hey, we want more training in this. That's a great one to provide. We haven't done it in a bit, but we'll do them once in a while for our partners. This was a while ago, like 5 or 6 years ago, I did one for restaurant owners on culinary PR and how to, get your restaurant on television and all that kind of good stuff.
This just makes me realize I went during our conference. One of the great sessions we had was from somebody from Skills RI, and I was so impressed and had no idea just how much they offer to small business owners in to like helping you build your website and figuring all of these things out.
Yeah.
That's another resource I just thought I would share because it was kind of mind blowing.
And
Renee, you had a
Candace,
question for me. Oh, you're muted.
I'll just also share as
No,
far as
thank you.
resources
There she is.
go that
No,
Candace is, sorry, one sec, that Candace shared in the chat that another resource was Commerce and Social Enterprise
Yes.
Greenhouse doing an AI training that she thought was very valuable. So that's also, so
I
okay,
just have an
Renee.
example of two different groups. We have a group in Tiverton, the Four Corners
Yes.
Association. I just went to a meeting with them today. They're really working very well at getting media and doing all kinds of things. But the town is looking at trying to replicate that in North Tiverton, which is a totally different area because the businesses are so diverse. There's not like a kernel of, arts kind of thing.
Yeah.
Everything from an auto body shop to a grocery store. And I don't know how do you start bringing those diverse groups together?
That's really hard because you've got you marketing 101 is a brand.
Mhm.
And so like I know Tiverton fairly well, and that's a very specific brand. But
I'm curious, what do you think is our brand?
well, it's coastal chic,
Oh,
really.
thank you. I like that.
Groundswell, that whole area. It's coastal chic. It's exactly like if I were you guys, I'd be going after coastal living. I'd be going after Martha Stewart. I'd be going after Hey Roadie. I'd be going after Rhode Island Monthly.
Yeah, that's what that.
Those are your people.
Well, that's our people at Tiverton Four Corners. Our people at North Tiverton are very different. It's not
Right.
really. So that's
So
so what you're saying is that we need to sort of start looking at how we could sort of come up with a brand for North Tiverton. I
yeah,
don't.
and then they work together. I mean, we do that in Providence and Warwick. The way that we sell Warwick is different than the way we sell Providence, but they're very complementary.
Okay.
We do a really, so like for example, the Rhode Island Convention Center is a big deal and it's in Providence and it hosts a very specific kind of group. The Crown Plaza is actually a baby convention center and it hosts a completely different kind of group. They're under this umbrella brand, but if we're looking at the specific cities, we sell to two different people.
I'd
And
love
I'll
you.
just, yeah,
I'd love
mention
you to come
also.
down to. I'd love you to come down to one of our Four Corners meetings. That would be great.
I would love to. I'm a big Groundswell fan.
Okay, good. Okay, I'll invite you.
And Renee, I'll just also mention in our work as Main Street Rhode Island and bringing Main Street America here to work with us with our districts,
Mhm.
their methodology includes a process through which you identify your unique
Characteristics. Yeah.
brand, right? They call them transformation strategies because they're
Mhm.
really looking at overall revitalization, not just the marketing.
Right.
But would love to, yeah, make sure
I
you're
I
there
would love
to.
to. Yeah, I definitely plan on doing that. But it was just interesting because we just have such a literally that Route 24 break makes all the
You
difference in the
also,
world in Tiverton.
Tiverton is part of Discover Newport too.
Right.
And there's a lot of resources available through them. They do a great job. And what's great about them is Newport's the like elephant in the room. Like they get all the attention. And that's actually good because then everybody in that area can draft under that. Because like
Mm.
you're coming for a few days to stay in Newport, but like you have a car, you might want to go to Bristol, you might want to go to Tiverton, you might want there's way we do that. Like we push people out even with conventions into other parts of Rhode Island.
Can you give us your email again?
Sure, it's K Adamo, Adamo at goprovidence.com.
Yeah, Kristen, can you just talk for one more minute about that? Because I love the way you were talking about on our roadies ride about how the tourists were interested in getting out to the neighborhoods
Yeah.
and getting out.
So one of the really funny things is we'll get people from the Midwest who'll come in and they have a half day and they are like, I've never seen the ocean. I want clam chowder. So I actually usually if they have a half day, we send them to Warwick and we go to Oakland Beach and they go to Iggy's and they have their clam cakes and chowder and they walk around and they think it's cool. They take a picture in the ocean and then they come back. If they have longer time or they're more specific, we'll send them down to Narragansett or Newport or what have you. But our mission is while we are Providence and Warwick, the Rhode Island Convention Center is Rhode Island's convention center. And so we try to farm people out all over the place because just because when you go on a convention, um, you don't just want to sit in your hotel room and eat in the hotel. You want to go out and explore. So we try to push them out as far as we can.
So great. And you were saying that people are really seeking that
Well,
experience too.
and that goes back to actually marketing. Like it used to be, you would go to a conference and you would go to whatever restaurant was out your hotel window, and now everybody's on like Yelp and social media and ChatGPT trying to find like the best clam cake in all of Rhode Island, and they will go and get that clam cake so they can take a picture and be like, look, I just ate the best clam cake in all of Rhode Island. And so that happens a lot. Like we have people that research, um, specific places that they want to go. I wish I had a dime for every single person who's come to me and been like, I want to go to Alforno. Can you get me into Alforno? And the answer is no. No one can get you into Alforno.
Scott, your hands up.
Thanks. So, Kristen, I'm thinking about how, because we're so small and because we have such large population centers in close proximity to Rhode Island, but that are not their mass in Connecticut, for example. Can you, is there some advice you can give us all about how to market local events, or is it worth marketing really local events to, say, the Fall River Herald News,
Yes.
or to the New Bedford Standard Times, or to the New London Day, if you're in the southwestern part of it, because we are certainly a regional market, and to just focus on Rhode Island media, I think is maybe missing opportunities. So
Yeah,
I
I
just
agree
wanted
with
you to
you. We
talk a little
do.
bit about that.
Yeah, the Fall River Market is a big one. Um, the in New London is a big one, but one you shouldn't sleep on that we do a lot of work in is the Route 128 corridor. Those people have money and they don't want to drive into Boston. There's too much
Mhm.
traffic. You got to pay to park,
Yep.
all of that. So, yeah, we do a lot. We spend some time on that Route 128 corridor when we do stuff like restaurant weeks or that kind of thing where it's more
And
of a
what kind of
local.
outlets are there? Media outlets,
Yeah,
newsprint, radio?
there's newspaper groups, there's uh different social media, like if you do a little research on Instagram, um there's daily newspapers, but there's a whole, I'm trying to think, I think it's called the Tab Group 128. That's a whole thing of local publications.
Neat.
But the other way to do it is Facebook advertising. You can target by demographic. And so we do that a lot. We'll like really push people
They say you can
who,
do geographic targeting on
you can
Facebook.
do geo, you can do income level, all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Thank you.
So we do a lot of that. We do a lot of Facebook marketing because it's cheap.
Great. Thank you.
All right. Oh, I'm lobbying to geofence the entire line into the Pawtucket station, says Steve.
Steve, I'll tell you, it's called Placer AI. That's the name of the company. It's really expensive. Um, we have a partnership that helps pay for it, but that's how you do it.
Nice. Anything else going on at the state level that we should, like the whole group of us should know about?
Yeah, I mean, don't sleep on commerce. It like hurts my feelings how much crap commerce gets for their tourism marketing. It's actually going really well. And if you look at their stats, the other thing commerce has is research, and you can find it on their website. I can't remember the direct section. I'll find it, but they have research about tourism and tourism data, and they drill down. They don't drill down into specific well, no, they go by county for the most part. But you can look at what where people are going, where people are spending money. What are the big things? There's some research on the Commerce website on that. They're also always looking for stuff for their social media and their calendar. One of the big problems that everyone has is why are there 50 million calendars? Why do I have to keep submitting to my all these calendars? Why can't we have one? And I will tell you the truth. The reason is because when you have own a website, and your page, your calendar page and your things to do page is one of the biggest um, things that people look at. So no one wants to give up their stuff to be on one calendar, and that's the problem.
Mm.
Oh, the MBTA audience. Yeah, I think you go like at start and end points. And if I don't know if they have on train advertising. We've done like the Block Island Ferry, um, things like that for advertising. The other thing is PR, right? Like you could do a big PR push and do a whole, like, here's something to do at every stop once you got into Rhode Island.
Yeah,
Things like that. You could get clever.
that's really fun. All right, I think we have time for one last question if someone's got a good one. All right. Oh, well, if no more questions, then you have Kristen's email if you want to send her more questions. We will just take a moment to offer you a humongous thank you so much for
Sure.
sharing all of this fantastic information with us. It's yeah, really helpful and clearly, yeah, so much to know. And I think those of us on this call, it's not our, primary way of thinking. So it's really great to have this direction. And yeah, so Ed, inspiration as well. Yes, wonderful.
Well, thank
So
you. This was a lot of fun.
so glad to have you. We'll have to have you back again.
Sure.
Um, and just to let everyone know before you sign off that the next Main Street Rhode Island Roundtable will be on January 15th, Thursday, January 15th at 12 p.m. And we will have our guest from the Rhode Island Historic Preservation and Heritage Commission talking about kind of an introduction to historic preservation and its relationship with economic development. I'm sure, Kristen, you point to, like, as you said, Benefit Street, like the historic assets of the state being such a draw for visitors. So to get to that part of the question, thinking about Main Streets, we're going to have Kelsey Mullen join us to give us a introduction to that topic. So that'll be January 15th. And yes, stay tuned. Make sure you subscribe to the Main Street Rhode Island newsletter for to hear more of our events. So with that, I say thank you and have a wonderful afternoon.
And a Merry
Thank
Christmas.
you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Very happy holidays.